Yeah. That was probably a bus because can't drive and do this at the same time. So sorry.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Skitch on Wheels here. Today we're going to go through the modifications that I've done to my 2020 Lowrider S. Stick around to the end of the video and I'm going to let you know which modification I like the most and which one I like the least. So when I bought this bike back in 2021, I bought it stock straight off the floor at the Harley Davidson dealership. I knew there were some things I wanted to change about it. I wanted to increase the performance of it, and I wanted a unique look, a different look than what Harley was producing stock. So we're going to start at the front of the bike. The main difference in the front is obvious. This is a fairing that came with the bike. It didn't do much for wind protection. As you can see, I've added a laminar lid, and I ran this for about 6 to 8 months as well. And it did okay. It was pretty decent for blocking wind. I'm not disappointed in it. But as you can tell from the video, I went with an RWD fairing, FXRT fairing, that does a lot better job of blocking the wind. So the other thing about the front end is this is the stock Harley headlight. As you can see, it's not very big. I went with an Eagle Lighting Fly Eye LED headlight that lights up the road, does an amazing job. Just looks better on the bike. RWD makes an FXRT fiberglass fairing with headlight cover and vent screens. The fit was pretty straightforward and easy to mount. The finish was a bit rough and definitely needed some fill and sanding before paint. Next we have my original turn signals with Karaoke tracer inserts. I mounted these to the bottom of the FXRT fairing. I love the look of the lights mounted to the fairing and not on top of the handlebars. These run white and turn amber when activated. Pushing the wind up and out of my face is the Clockworks 9-inch smoke windshield. This windshield adds a sporty look to the front of the bike. Up front and in the rear, my rims have been powder coated in a prismatic candy gold color. In my opinion, the stock color was dark, bland, and did not add to the overall look of the bike. Rims are one of those big ticket items that can drastically change the bike's look. I did outsource the fairing, bags, rims, risers, and bar to the professionals for paint and powder coating. Front axle covers are from Killer Customs in the UK and give a nice flush mount appearance. I was skeptical they would last since they attach by a double-sided tape, but they have been through 4,000 miles and lots of rain, and I've had no problems with them. Back axle covers are from Harley Davidson. Sticking with the front of the bike, I replaced all the front brake lines and the clutch cable. I went with Magnum Shielding Black Pearl brake lines and clutch cable. This was one of the most challenging modifications for me. I thought I had added the extra height of the riser and bar correctly when ordering, but they came in too long. Let me pause the video here for just a second and speak about Magnum Shielding. They took the product back and took 4 inches off the clutch cable and 2 inches off the brake line. Typically this has a minimal fee, but since they were running 2 to 3 weeks behind, they did it for free and covered shipping. Needless to say, the product quality is one of the best, along with their customer service. The other thing I changed out was the front brake and clutch lever. The stock brake and clutch levers were big, bulky, silver, and didn't fit the look of the bike. I chose one-finger levers and improved both the look and the quality. The clutch lever is 50% easier to pull over stock. I changed out the stock grips for some Arlen Ness black knurled fusion grips, which improved my hand-to-bar contact. Next, we got some mirrors here. These stock ones are fine. They do all right. But I did go with some Arlen Ness mirrors just for looks.
I selected Arlen Ness downdraft forged mirrors. They give a sleek and streamlined appearance on the handlebars.
The big improvement that I did is the risers. So I did go with some aftermarket risers. I think Harley Davidson's were too low for me. I was too leaned over.
I installed hard case 9.5-inch risers with a Thrash and Supply 4.5-inch mid-bend bar. This setup raised my arms considerably and moved me back and upright in a more comfortable riding position.
So all of you with a 20 or 21 lowrider S, you know, the 22, I think STs come with cruise control. I'm not sure about the 22 S's, but we have a bike that didn't come with cruise control. Finding cruise control for 2020 bike was the holy grail. Everybody was in search of it. Took 7-8 months to get. If I'm holding this that is not cruise control, you know I got one. And I got one early. It only took me about 4 weeks when I started. I called about 10 different places throughout the country, and I think Utah, Harley Davidson had one, shipped it to me. I've got cruise on my bike now. So I used some lumen from, I think, Rival Cycles. That's a way to wrap your wires just to keep everything clean when they come out of the risers.
The cruise control housing and wires on the left side were long enough for my new riser and bar height. The right side controls were not. I ordered my wiring extensions from Magnum Shielding. Hardcase risers are one of the risers on the market, if up for the challenge, where you can run all the electrical wires through the bar and down the center of each riser. I did have to drill 2 small holes in the bar to line up with the riser holes. This was no small feat, but cleans up the look of the bar and riser tremendously. For navigation, I've mounted a Garmin XT Zumo. This product is specifically designed for motorcycle enthusiasts. This Garmin also has a selection which will navigate you to your destination, only taking back roads. I purchased 2 Harley Davidson black bezel kits for the speedometer and tachometer. I decided they would be a nice accent piece if powder-coated candy gold. A lot of 20 and 21 Lowrider S owners move these to above the bar for better vision. I like the look of them on the tank. In 2022, these were eliminated on the tank of the Lowrider S and ST.
Moving back down the bike a little bit, down to the engine, we'll start with the air filter. I did change out the stock filter, even though it's perfectly fine. Some guys say that it works as well as any of the aftermarket ones.
I installed an Arlen Ness Sidekick air cleaner. It has a unique hidden breather design to help eliminate the excess oil blow-by the M8 motors have been infamous for.
Next, I did tappet covers and lifter covers.
Since the lifter covers were going to be removed when I upgraded to the S&S 475 cam, I decided to replace them and the tappet covers with a blacked out version.
This is the trans cover top. I went with a Trask vented trans cover top.
The Trask vented transmission top cover also works to reduce the oil exiting from the head breathers. This again is to help eliminate the excess oil blow-by from the M8 motor.
This is a cam that came out of the bike. I went with an S&S 475 cam. Huge improvement. Power comes on at 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, and it doesn't stop all through redline. Very pleased with that. So another thing that had to go was Harley's stock exhaust. You know, you don't even hear them. When I was wearing a full face helmet, I couldn't even hear the bike. Performance-wise, I don't know. They probably are adequate. Yeah, but I went with a Basante 2-in-1 Road Rage 3.
The Basante exhaust probably adds a little bit of horsepower, but it's the sound I enjoy. It can be a low rumble at highway speeds, but during acceleration is where it shines. The sound of the pipe while pulling through the gears is instant feedback the 114 M8 is loving life at higher RPMs. Protecting the fairing and engine in case of a drop, which I'm not too proud to say I've had a few close calls, is an Original Garage crash bar. I chose Original Garage because it seemed like a beefy version of other crash bars and also gave me a true forward position to rest my feet if I decided to.
Moving to the seat and what's under it. This is the stock seat we all get, single passenger, solo rider.
One of the first things to go on the stock lowrider was the seat. It was uncomfortable after an hour or so of riding. Out of all of the various seat manufacturers, I chose the Corbin Widowmaker, which I have not been disappointed in. I can travel long distance without any leg pain, butt pain, or back pain. However, for two-up riding, my wife prefers our Harley Davidson Sundowner seat. My backrest and luggage rack is the Harley Holdfast Sissy Bar and Sport Rack. This works perfect with either seat. I did have an Edward Ritchie Sissy Bar, which looked so much better in my opinion, but was uncomfortable for a passenger.
I'll put a link up here for you. I did a whole review on the Harley Sundowner seat versus my Corbin Widowmaker seat. One's kind of the one I prefer, one's the one my wife prefers for traveling. You can click that link and watch that video as well. The monoshock that Harley puts on their stock bikes, it's fine. It just sits too low for me because I was going to have a passenger ride.
Since Harley Davidson switched the lowrider to a softail frame, it now utilizes a monoshock. I installed a JRI shock which produces a comfortable ride and is adjustable once the seat is removed. I am pleased with the 1.5 to 2 inch height increase in the rear that the JRI shock provides. Since the back of the bike has been raised 2 inches, I needed to raise the front. Harry Customs makes the perfect solution with some 3D printed fork shims. Now that the bike has been raised 1 to 2 inches overall front to back, the Jiffy stand is a bit short. I selected the Jiffy stand extension from Bare Knuckle Performance. Word of warning here, some owners have experienced this product scraping the ground in corners. I'm not too aggressive when cornering the bike and have not had a problem. Riding Dad's YouTube channel gives a lot of good information and has a video where he's experienced this. The stock foot pegs were average at best and had a small footprint. I switched to Crossthread's mini floorboards and immediately noticed a better grip and a more comfortable foot position.
The tail light and the back turn signals. The tail light I replaced with a Moon's tail light that has turn signals built in. I also went with some Karaoke Alto little tiny tail light turn signals. They are brake lights, they are turn signals. It would only fit in the gap that was left when I put my FXR Division bags on.
The Moon's taillight, turn signal, and brake combination looks nice and eliminated the large stock brake and turn signals. After a few months, I started to think the rear of my bike was not as visible as I would like. So I added the Karaoke Alto brake and signal combination. The power of the Alto lights are impressive, especially at night. Here again we can see the power of the Eagle Lighting Fly Eye headlight. And also we see the diffuse glow that the Karaoke tracer inserts provide in the turn signals and running light. The FXR Division hard bags are the perfect size to dress up the rear of the lowrider. The bags are fiberglass and, like the front fairing, needed some sanding before paint. The overall attachment and strength of the bag rails is sturdy and does not shake or move or make any noise when riding. Their party pack removable insulated bags are easily removed and handy when traveling.
just want to let you in on a little secret. This was a project I started after I'd sold my house, moved into a condo, did not have a garage, sold 90% of my tools, and I learned most of what I needed to know from YouTube. But I did all of the work here myself, except for I didn't do the cam and the engine work, the tuning. I let the pros do that. But I didn't have the perfect setup, and I want to encourage you to not wait for that big fancy garage or all those tools. You don't have to have everything just perfect. I did all this in a 10 by 10 storage unit that I rented for $100 a month. Yeah, this is where I did my build. So this wraps up the Lowrider S build for me. I might tweak some things here and there. Nothing sticks out in my mind that I must have. Quite honestly, I'm just gonna ride it now. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. As I promised, I'm gonna give you my best modification and my worst modification. The worst I'll start with isn't really a modification, but an add-on. I bought this Ram Quick Grip wireless charger before I realized that my bike had a USB port where I could charge my phone. Before I knew that, I bought this thinking I would charge my phone at the same time because I was going to use that for most of my navigation needs. Ended up going with a Garmin XT Zumo that I love. This charger just did not do the job. It could not keep up with my phone and Google Maps. If I had a 4-hour ride, my battery would be dead, even with it mounted to this. The other big complaint I have is that even though it has coverage over the USB port, it did rust and become corroded and was unusable. So basically, 300 bucks I think at the time just doesn't work anymore. So what's my best modification that I enjoy the most? And that's a hard question to answer. I've got two that stick out the most. One of them is the RWD fairing in the front. I have to have it when I'm riding on the highway. I just can't get beat up by that wind over and over for hours and hours. Fairing does an amazing job. The last one has to be the performance of the bike, the SNS 475 can and the dyno tune that I had done. I went up to 114 horsepower, 128 foot-pounds of torque. You know, that's probably average for what guys are getting out of this bike with a cam and exhaust and a tune, but it is a game changer. This bike became alive. It has so much power now. It's fun to ride. It's not going to get me in trouble, but yet if I need to use the power, it's there for me. As always, thanks for watching the channel. Up next is One More Thing with Zoe, and she has a little announcement for us. Zoe, is there something you'd like to say? I have a new motorbike? What? Are you kidding? Well, where is it? That's right, we've got a new bike, and we'll reveal why I have this bike and what bike it is in the next video.
Here we go again.